What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Friday, December 8th, 2023. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host, Phil. Phil, are you ready for Buffalo Bandits lacrosse to kick back off Saturday at 7:30?
Yeah, I think we need it. We need it real badly. And I had this thought the other day that just like imagining trying to live in Buffalo without being a Bandits fan. Like there's plenty of Buffalonians and who live in this great city and don't really know much about the world of lacrosse or the incredible fan base and team that is the Buffalo Bandits, and they have to suffer with the Buffalo Bills and the Buffalo Sabres, and they don't get to feel the immense joy that we get as being Buffalo Bandits fans with the championship and the 3 straight championship appearances and just being really good at a sport. It's great. It's great. I love it, and I honestly could not imagine not being a Buffalo Bandits fan, and I cannot wait for the season to kick off. Even if it's an away game, gonna be pumped.
Yeah, so if you're not a Buffalo Bandits fan, first off, how did you find us? Because that's the majority of what we cover here. But second, why aren't you?
We'll take the
why
bandwagon.
not?
It's all right. We'll take them.
We have
We're
room
open.
for everybody.
Yeah, we are open.
If you're not used to lacrosse, stay with us because we're two idiots that just talk lacrosse so you can become an idiot with us. And maybe down the line, you can even be smarter than us, and then you can lecture us on your own podcast. So, yeah, if you are just joining the Bandits bandwagon, like I said, there's plenty of room, but you can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com and look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. For some reason, my left eye is bothering me, and I think it's because I'm starting to cry because I know the first section we're going to be talking about here is the Buffalo Bills. Actually, I think it was because there was an eyelash in my eye, but I got it out, and hopefully there's an eyelash in my eye if the Buffalo Bills continue this downward trend that they're on right now, including a fun little article that we're not going to dive into. But Tyler Dunn, go read that. Holy crap, Phil. Fun times in Buffalo Bills football. But, Phil, I know there's a little thing, a little ditty, if you want to call it. I'm just going to let you take over here because I'm banging my head against the wall, and you are more articulate than I am. I just ramble on about things.
Yeah, I don't know where you came up with Diddy,
I don't know where I was going either. It's the old Michael Scott. Sometimes I just start talking and I don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, so I saw this little image pop up a little bit ago. I'm not sure who posted it, but it is out there in general. So we're going to go over every single team that is in front of the Buffalo Bills in the wild card standings. We're going to go over the rest of the season with them, their current record.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them, sadly. It's a lot of teams to go over. And some are shocking that they are ahead of the Bills because starting pretty much all of them. Yes, we expected the Bills to be much higher, but pretty much all of these teams that are ahead of them currently are all shocking for the most part. But we are going to go through every team ahead of them, their remaining schedule, and where we kind of predict / see them possibly finishing. I guess we can try to be as PK is going to be running through his thoughts. I think we can try to be as optimistic as possible. So maybe throw in some losses in close games to see if the Bills can sneak in. But when I was quickly looking at this myself, I saw a team making it that I didn't expect. I think they have a real good end of the season for them, but overall, it was not good. Not good for the Bills. But we will start with the Steelers sitting at the current 5 seed in the AFC. Their next 5 games they have. We'll start with the Patriots. What are you thinking?
Win.
We got the Colts.
Oof. I don't think Kenny Pickett will be back, and that's shocking that I am hoping that, well, you're almost hoping that he's back if you're a Steelers fan. I will give them a loss versus the Colts.
Okay, Bengals.
Bengals did look good last Monday night, but is that a home or away matchup?
Hold, please.
He's holding now because I think playing in Steelerland.
Yep, it is home for the Steelers.
it's home for the Steelers, so I will. Oh, I'll give the Steelers a win.
All right, Seahawks.
Seahawks, I will give them a loss.
Okay, and then the Ravens.
Ravens, that's another loss.
Okay, you have them finishing 9-8. Good for the
That
Bills.
tracks because Mike Tomlin never has a losing season, so that makes sense.
Perfect. All right, that's good news for the Bills. We got 2 losses the Bills can endure and possibly still at least 1 loss that gives the Bills. All right, headed into the Browns, who are a shocking 6 seed with no quarterback. Good for them. Their defense is incredible. They go up against the Jaguars first.
Loss.
Okay, Chicago.
Win.
Okay, Texans.
Is that home or away?
Hold, please.
Okay, because again, I think that's more important because I believe Houston
They are
plays
away.
indoors. Okay, they're away, so I will give the edge to Houston. So I will give the Cleveland Browns a loss.
Okay, we got the Jets.
Jets, that would be man.
2 really good defenses. Who knows
Yeah.
who's going to be quarterback for the Jets at that point?
I will give the Jets a win there, so I'll give Cleveland another loss.
Okay, and then they finish with the Bengals.
Bengals, I'll give the Bengals a win there.
Okay, you have the Browns finishing 8-9, pretty much tanking the rest of their season.
I can see that with the quarterback play they have.
That's
and
fair.
Myles Garrett's not fully healthy. Denzel Ward, cornerback, is also not healthy. I mean, Myles Garrett's playing, but he's not full strength, so
Right.
their defense has taken a hit lately.
All right, next up you have the Colts in the 7 seed currently. Their first matchup is the Bengals.
Oof, and this one's Sunday. And I will give the Colts a W.
Okay, kind of shocking, but we'll give it to them. All right, Steelers. I forgot what you said you were doing. I think you gave the
I
Steelers
also
the win.
forgot. I believe I also gave the Steelers
Yeah,
a
you
win
had the
too, so,
Steelers. Yeah, according to my notes, I think. Oh no, you gave the Steelers a loss, Colts a win. Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry.
that makes more sense. So
I
the
switched
Colts
how
win
I
that
was
one.
tracking
Yeah.
this mid tracking. All right, Colts. Oh man, this is not going to go well for us when we switch our minds at mid. Okay, Falcons are next.
Falcons. They don't have a quarterback, but everybody runs on Indy. I'm gonna give Atlanta a win there because I think Bijan's gonna have a heyday on
It
that
is
matchup.
in Atlanta, so we'll give it to him. Okay, Raiders.
Win.
Okay, and then Texans.
Whew. I believe I gave the Texans a win. Didn't I just give them Texans?
We have
a
not
win
done
over
the
Colts?
Texans yet.
Oh, well, I will give the Texans the wins over the Colts there. I think the
Okay.
Colts will lose to the Texans.
So my math is right there. At the end, you have the Colts finishing 10-7. Still gives the Bills a shot. All right, Texans.
This would be shocking.
Yes, Texans are in the 8th seed, so we have a win against the Colts. But we'll get there. They start with the Jets.
Oh, win, even though they lost Tank Dell. I think Tank Dell is actually going to hurt them a lot more. I think CJ Stroud's going to have a rough game on Sunday versus the Jets because you can't really pass on them, but you can run on them a lot. And I don't know if Damian Pierce is actually a good running back. So I'll still give the Texans a win, but it's going to be a lot closer than you think it's going to be.
All right, and then Tennessee.
Win.
Okay, Cleveland. I forgot what you just said.
I believe I said the Texans would win that one.
Okay, and then you got Tennessee,
Win.
and then Colts, which I think you gave.
I gave the Texans a win.
Yeah, so you have them
11-6.
say winning out pretty much almost. All right, so that was actually my also when I was going through this list, they were my surprise team, looking arguably the best of these AFC teams so far. I know we still have a couple to go over, but their rest of season schedule, how they're playing right now, how they're finishing the season, they were the one that I thought actually has a decent chance of sneaking back into the playoffs. And I mean, good for them, I guess. We will move on to the Broncos, sitting at 6-6 in the 9 seed. This list is getting more and more depressing as we go on that the Bills are behind all these teams. Okay, you start with the Chargers.
Win.
Okay, Lions.
Loss.
Okay, Patriots.
Win.
Chargers again.
Patriots are tanking. I'll give the Chargers a win on that one. So Denver, the loss.
And then Raiders.
A win.
Okay, you have them 9-8. All right,
This, I know we got one more team to go over before the Bills, but this is in my gut. The Bills aren't going to make it. So
I know, and
I said that when they lost to the Denver Broncos, so I would be right anyways. So
I mean, right now, realistically, I mean, you got the Steelers at 9-8, Browns 8-9, Colts 10-7, Texans 11-6, Broncos 9-8. So realistically,
possible, but
I think you're giving the Colts and Texans are going to be hard to catch up to. You're giving the Bills 0 losses and 1 loss to catch up. So that's going to be tough with what we're breaking down here. Bengals 6-6. I got to switch what I'm looking at. They are against the Vikings first.
Oh, I think they can win that one because I think Josh Dobbs' fairy tale is end. Yeah, his Dobbs is done.
I like it. Steelers, I don't know what you did with this one. You gave the Steelers a loss? I have no idea. Loss,
yes, I think I shocked you, so Bengals won that one.
Okay. Bengals and the Chiefs.
Lost to the Bengals.
Okay, and then Bengals and Browns. Bengals were home. I think you gave the Browns.
I believe I gave the Bengals the win on that one.
Yes. How am I missing? Oh, they started with the Colts. Sorry, I was looking at this wrong. They started with the Colts, not the Vikings.
The Colts beating them.
Okay, so you have them finishing 8-9, and then you got the Bills. I
don't want to do this.
Are we gonna do this?
I don't want to do this.
Okay, here we go. Bills 6-6. You got Kansas City this week. I don't think you want to answer any of these questions.
Loss. I know Kansas City's offense hasn't looked good, but guess what? Anytime you face the Bills' defense lately, you've been looking good. So, I'm giving Kansas City the win and the Bills the loss.
All right, Cowboys.
Loss.
And the Bills are out pretty much. All right, Chargers.
I'll give them the win versus the Chargers because I think Chargers are broken worse than the Bills.
All right, fighting back. You got the Patriots.
Win, because you can't lose twice to the Patriots that are trying to tank.
Okay, and then you finish the season with the Dolphins.
That one's in Miami, correct?
I believe we already played them at home.
Yeah, so they're going to get fried on the sidelines again. Loss.
Yeah, but it's winter.
Doesn't matter.
Winter Miami.
Florida's hot.
Yeah, it is away. All right, so you have the Bills finishing 9-9 and out.
9-8, right?
Oh, sorry. I wrote.
No, 8-9. 8-9. I only gave them 2
Oh
wins.
my gosh, I was trying to give them too much credit. I was giving them bonus games. Yeah, 8-9 out of the playoffs. That is where we are currently sitting with 5 games remaining. So yeah, pretty depressing.
That was
Bills
me
segment.
trying to be optimistic, like not even trying to figure out because you did all the math. I didn't know what they were going to end up with.
You were just going game by game.
That's the way the cookie
I wanted
crumbles.
you to kind of do it, just game by game. What your gut feeling is. I agree. The Texans, I think, have one of the better shots of making it, which is very interesting. The Colts would be a boring team to get in, but it's definitely possible. Minshew's doing good enough. Taylor's doing good enough. Their defense is good enough.
So who would be the 7th seed there?
Let's see.
Does Denver get in?
You have the Steelers, Broncos, both at 9-8.
And Steelers have a 5-3 conference record right now, so I'm assuming they would be the 7th seed. So congrats to Mike Tomlin making the playoffs once again.
At 9-8. Oh my gosh, the Bills. How gross. So Texans, Colts, Steelers, as of right now, is your prediction for those seeds. I'm going to write it down.
It's so gross. Imagine missing the playoffs to a Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett-led team, a Gardner Minshew-led team, and then the Rookie of the Year, C.J. Stroud, who just lost Tank Dell with a rookie head coach.
And Devin Singletary as the running back.
Yeah, gross. Congrats, Bills. You did it.
You did it. All right. Well, we can go from one gross segment to another.
Yeah, I'm glad we did that. But really, if you're looking for the Bills to say they beat the Chiefs, here's who you're rooting for. You're rooting for the Bengals to beat the Colts. You're rooting for the Jags to beat the Browns. You're rooting for the Jets to beat the Texans. You're rooting for the Rams to beat the Ravens, even though that game literally doesn't matter. You're rooting for the Vikings to beat the Raiders just to keep the Raiders down. You're rooting for the Chargers to upset the Broncos to bring them back to 6-7. And then Monday night, you're rooting for the Titans to beat the Dolphins for those that are still in make-believe land that believe the Bills can, chase and catch the AFC East. So that's what you're rooting for on this weekend of games. And then Thursday night, I was going to put that you're rooting for the New England Patriots to beat the Steelers, but that's not possible, and it's going to be a gross game. So I'm editing through the entire thing, and the editing is going to take me 3 hours, but it won't. So we'll move on to the Fantasy Blitz segment here. Last week, which was 2 shows ago now, because we didn't do this on Monday show because this is the Friday show, I picked Pat Fryermuth, and you took Devon Achane. Once again, one of us hit, one of us didn't. The one that didn't was me. The one that did was you. Fryermuth finished 23rd. Devon Achane in garbage time scraped and clawed his way into the end zone for a 4th finish, or a 4th place finish for the running backs. Phil, week 14, playoffs are next week. I'm still fighting in my brother's league. I'm still alive in the Guillotine League. I'm fighting all over the place. Phil, who is a player that I might go grab off free and see if he's available and throw him into my lineup, because I have to resort to starting Deontay Johnson tonight. Whoopee!
Yeah, this player might be available, but he is not in our league, and I sadly had to just drop him in order to play an active lineup without dropping any of my other fun players who pretty much mean nothing to my team, but this position didn't mean anything either. I picked Isaiah Likely, currently ranked 58th. He's going up against the 27th ranked Rams, and that's where they're ranked against tight ends. He's coming off the Ravens bye week, so I think they're going to find new ways to get him involved, and it's a plus matchup. 2 weeks ago, Trey McBride went 7 for 9 for 60 against the Rams. Last time the Ravens were out there before their bye, Likely had 6 targets, caught 4 of them for 40 yards. I think he probably needs a touchdown to get in the top 10, but I think he is likely to get one.
I saw what you did there.
Yeah, thank you.
Very creative. Very creative. Because this is the final week, and there's only 2 bye weeks, but there's a lot of injuries, and there's a lot of just scratching and clawing and trying to find your way into a playoff spot like I am, sitting at 6-7. I lost because I pulled Deontay Johnson out of my lineup, who got me 11.5, and I put in Hollywood Brown, who got me 0 and left the game. So whoopee, I would have won and been safe in the playoffs. But here's a player that you can grab off free agency and the waiver wire that I think you can insert in your lineup. Jalen Hyatt. I think he is 89th at this point right now because he's only had 1 good game. The Giants offense with Tommy/Danny DeVito actually looks okay, and they know they're not going anywhere. They know they need to see what they have in their 3rd round rookie draft pick in Hyatt. Now, last week versus New England, yes, I know it's New England, but their defense has actually been very good. Did you know they've actually lost 4 straight games where their defense has allowed 10 or fewer points?
Oh my gosh.
Can you believe that? That's unbelievable. But he just went 5 for 6.
Gross.
So 5 receptions, 6 targets for 109 yards. I don't know. Numbers hurt. I'm hoping that they really did use the bye week to adjust their offense to get the younger, promising players in over the players that won't be around to help your franchise. I think Jalen Hyatt is exactly that. I really hope he hits, because I might go pick him up before these next slate of games start and throw him in my lineup over Deontay Johnson, just because the hope and a prayer, and that's what I need. I need a hope and a prayer from Tommy DeVito.
I like it, and I think he's been a fun player. He's been a fun rookie. I almost picked him up as well. My bench is stacked.
Don't you go do it.
Nonsense. No, I'm good. I got Noah Brown last week, and now with Tank Dell out, even though it's a terrible matchup this week, I think he'll be fine the rest of the season. So gonna hold with him, and I know you're still fighting in Guillotine and in the main league, but my brother and I, who have nothing going for us because he has clinched the highest seed he can do, so he is pretty much done this week in the last week, and I am already out of playoffs, so I'm done. We are both doing a battle of the benches, and we put all of our lowest projected players in, and we're just gonna we stay at the start. It's pretty much the senior game in high school, where the players that don't play, even if they don't play a lot, if they're seniors, you get them in the game because they're seniors. That's what we're doing. We're getting all of our bench players in because this is their last chance to really make a name for themselves before they send off into, for me, not playoffs. For Dan, he's just trying to see who can really make a difference on his bench. So we're going to do a battle of the benches. I think he's projected 95. I'm projected 93. And I think he was originally projected 131. So he's taken a little bit of a hit.
I didn't know you were doing that because honestly, your matchup meant nothing to me. There's three other matchups that mean something to me. Yeah. So I didn't even scan by it. I didn't know you were doing that, but I absolutely love it. And I can't wait for the other people in our league to figure out what you're doing because I don't think they're going to take it as nicely as me, even though it literally means nothing. Like you can't jump up into ninth. He can't jump any further up. He can't lose his division. You both are exactly where you're going to be, whether you put up 0 or 300 points. It literally doesn't matter what happens in your matchup. So what
excited.
literally doesn't matter,
I'm excited.
Here's another nice transition. What literally doesn't matter is the Buffalo Sabres organization. Because Phil, here's a trade that proves how it's unbelievable. I saw the thing and I was like, what the heck happened? They traded a 2025, yes, 2 years from now, conditional 7th round pick for Eric Robinson. Who? Yeah, who cares? There's nothing like adding a sandpaper type player when you need more scoring. You know, when you're looking at this product going, what does this team possibly need? Oh, it needs a guy that was waived out in October. You could have gotten him for free if you wanted in October. But no, let's send a conditional 7th. He has to play 45 of the remaining 56 games for that 7th round pick that's so valuable to go over to Columbus. Phil, it's mind numbing what this organization does because now they're going to say, hey, I did something. I tried to improve the lineup with Eric Robinson. And the funny thing is he scored a hat trick against the team last year.
I did see that. I was wearing my shirt last episode. Forgot that we're doing 2 now. The last episode I was wearing my shirt that said, do something. This was not the something that I was thinking of. And it's even more, it's incredibly frustrating that, like, I know you had to make a move, I guess, to show that you're doing something, but this is just not it. Not only that, you're using this player to essentially block younger, more talented forwards. And I think that, to me, is the most frustrating part about it. You brought this penalty killing physical forward in who can't really score or put up stats, which is what you actually need, and you're sending someone like Brandon Bureau down, and you're also blocking other young talented players in your AHL system from coming up who possibly could make an actual difference on the score sheet, and then you just bring this guy in for pretty much nothing just because you lost Gergensons and there's a few other, bottom forward injuries, so you think you need to replace those bottom forwards with other even worse bottom forward. I don't get it, and it's frustrating, and the games that they played were also frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I had no joy in watching Gergensons and Oposo play anymore, and I'm going to have even less joy of watching this Eric Robinson play. And of course, now they're playing Boston. They called up Devin Levi because, Eric Comrie just played on Tuesday and he got lit up. So and UPL 6. So nothing like sending down your rookie to gain confidence and gain some experience, and then first game back, hey, go face Boston. Whoop-de-doo, have fun with that. But yeah, Sunday, as we were recording, like I said, they were down 2-0. They lost 2-1, and they didn't even score when the clock was moving, Phil. The only goal that was scored was on a penalty shot by Olofsson. Imagine that you have to have the clock stop for you to score a goal.
and
UPL 27.
Clear the ice.
Yeah, clear the ice. Nobody around, 1-on-1, and that's the only way you're able to score on this team. UPL 27-29 save shots were 35-29 in favor of the Sabres. And then Tuesday didn't get any better. It was actually uglier. They lost 5-3. Yeah, it was even worse than that score because they poured it on late, and they thought they had a chance. Dahlin scored to make it 4-1. Then Middlestad and Skinner scored to make it 4-3. And then, Detroit would score. Comrie, 22 of 26 saves. He was not very good. The defense in front of him was not any good. Shots 32-27 in favor of the Sabres. Phil, they're playing Boston right now. I don't know what's going to happen. You're going to find out before I do, but I can't imagine with Devin Levi back in the net, and Rasmus Dahlin is not playing. Alex Tuch is not playing. And it's going to get ugly. It's going to get real ugly if they pass the way they have been recently.
Yeah, I mean, everything about these last 2 games pretty much just came to fruition about what the Sabres have been recently. It's getting down early, which they did against Nashville, down 2-0 really early, couldn't come back. And then Detroit, they were down, I believe, 4-0 obviously early and then tried to fight back but could not do it. And the Predators game, I mean, there was the two goals they scored. I honestly loved it so much because one was, again, an offensive zone faceoff immediately to a shot that snuck through because UPL couldn't see it. So once again, it's a straight from an offensive draw for the Predators and then just an immediate shot and goal, which we've seen almost, I believe, possibly 3 straight games with that one that the other teams have pulled that play off. And then the other one, the Sabres failed to get the puck out of the zone for a couple of chances. They played very soft in front of the net. I believe it was Yokiharu who was just kind of standing next to the guy who ended up getting, it was a difficult tip, but Yokiharu just decided not to take the body on the player and decided to, I don't know, just sit on the other side of UPL and let the player tip it in when he was not on the correct side. So those 2 goals just pretty much are exactly how the Sabres defense is playing right now. They cannot get the puck out of the zone. They have a lot of turnovers. They're playing very soft in front of the net. And then again, that face-off zone goal. And UPL, honestly, I thought he played incredible against Nashville. The defense played really bad in front of him. Outside of those 2 goals, I thought he had a monster bounce-back game for him. He had a ton of big saves to keep this team in it, and yet they could not find a way to score. And then Detroit, more of the same, just terrible defense. Honestly, I thought their offense looked okay early. Lyon had a lot of good saves in that one to keep them out of it, but still, there was a play in the first period. They had a 3-on-1 against Detroit and the goalie, and oh no, that was the Predators game that they couldn't score that one either. But just the offense, like last year, we would have saw this offense in these 2 games that looked okay, put a lot more of these goals in, and now they just cannot seem to figure it out until it's too little too late in both games. And they're just playing the exact same style of play game in and game out, where they just start very slow. They can't seem to fix that. And then they just try to play catch up, and their offense does not have the ability right now to do it. And they just look bad. They look very frustrating. And I mean, we've said it for weeks now. This is not the way we expected the season to go. And it's getting more and more depressing. And then that trade was just like rubbing salt into the wound of just terribleness.
Yeah, I'm going to hit on what you just said, where they just start so slow. Here's some numbers. The team is 1-9-1 when they're trailing after the first period. And the Detroit game, where they went down early again, it was the 17th time in the 26 games they've played that they've allowed the first goal. You can't win games when you can't come from behind to win, and you're letting them score in the majority of the games that you're playing. 9 times the Buffalo Sabres scored the first goal in the 26 games. It's unbelievable how bad they are. But I'm honestly done talking about how bad things are, because changes need to be made, and I already know nothing's going to get done. So let me address another bigger issue that I think is a lot less talked about for this team. And this has been going on for 12 years now. The fans are ticked off, and they're actually starting to not care again. I've said this for the longest time. Even if you are a horrible team, you want your fans mad, because that means they actually care. They're starting to not care. You saw the arena last year towards the end. It was alive. It was thriving. There were fans coming back. To start the season, the fans were back in the seats. It was so difficult for this team to play with an empty arena when they were actually playing good, but you had to earn the fans' trust back that you were actually good. They were finally starting to do that. Guess what? They're disappearing again, and I'm not sure if you can ever win them back if you have another down, missed playoff year. Kids know, and they follow things. I might not be a parent, but guess what? I was a kid once, and I know this. They are not going to want to be fans of a team that sucks year after year and are not fun to watch. Last year, they were fun to watch. I don't know what happened, but they stopped being fun to watch. They stopped being that high-flying offense. It all disappeared. If you miss the playoffs and finish worse than you were last year, you are killing off a whole age group of fans. And guess what? Fans filled your building. Fans pay for the tickets. Fans buy your merchandise. These kids aren't going to want to be fans of a team that isn't any good. They haven't been good for 12 years. In my opinion, these fans are in the right. This team does not deserve your money right now. They do not even deserve your attention. If I wasn't doing this podcast, I wouldn't be talking about the Sabres. I wouldn't be watching them. I hate that I have to do this. They did nothing but continue to hope that this young talent was good enough, and they haven't been able to step up. I saw somebody tweet out earlier today what their goals were last year at this point and what they are now. They have two goal scorers over 10 goal or 10 or more goals, and I think it's Skinner and Paterka. It's unbelievable how fast this offense dried up and how much faith Kevin Adams had in this group to repeat what they did last year. And again, I hate myself for doing this because I didn't hit them hard enough for not making any adjustments to their forward group and just hope and pray that they could do it again. But Phil, something needs to be adjusted because they're on a 4-game losing streak right now into Boston, and there's just no hope in sight right now. And again, if you miss the playoffs again, you can kiss that building being full next year because you won't deserve it. You don't deserve fans in the stands right now. You don't deserve fans watching your product right now because it's the same thing from the past 12 years. And honestly, going into the season, Phil, I've said it here multiple times. I honestly thought that light at the end of the tunnel wasn't a train. And guess what? I'm getting run over as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, they just expected the offense to be able to repeat exactly what it did and maybe see some of these other younger players take another step, but they have pretty much all fallen off other than Paterka. I know he's doing pretty well, but he's not enough. Again, we talked about it last episode. He's a good second line, third line depth scoring player. He's great at that and exactly what you would want to have on this team if you have two incredibly solid top lines, but they don't. The defense, I don't know what happened to them, but they've gotten worse for sure, and the goalies have tried. I think UPL's been a little bit of a surprise and a fun one. I think he's been playing well. Comrie, I don't think, has been terrible all year. Levi, who was supposed to be your savior, absolutely is not ready, and I don't think it's anything against him. I think he just needs more time in the AHL. He'll be fine probably in the future, but again, we talked about it with Benson. It's nothing against him, but I'm so sick of hearing how young this team is and how it's going to be great for the future. Sabres fans are done waiting. We are done, especially after last year. You got so close. All the hype was there, especially going into this offseason. I know a lot of predictions where the Sabres were not going to make the playoffs in a tough division, but still, it was there. The opportunity was there, and they have fallen very, very flat so far. I mean, they have officially a longer losing streak than they have even a point streak, let alone a win streak. So, I don't know. They're going to have to get extremely hot, extremely fast, but right now, with the way they're playing, they are just really sad and hard to follow.
So let's move over to our final segment of where we can get joyous and happy because there's actually a sports team in Buffalo that we're excited for and happy for. So before we dive into the preview like we always do and like we have done going into our third year here, the CW23 is going to broadcast 14 of 18 Buffalo Bandits games this year. I absolutely love this for the area. It's going to allow more fans that do not have a streaming service because there are fans out there that either can't afford it, don't know how to use it, don't want it, any of those kind of reasons, but they do have cable and they want to be able to watch the Buffalo Bandits. Plenty of other teams have this ability. Buffalo Bandits are finally jumping on the bandwagon. I have been saying, and we have been saying this for going on 3 years now, you get this game and these players in front of people who would typically not see it, and they will absolutely fall in love with this product. They are going to get to the game. They're going to fall deeper in love with that, and that is how you grow the game even further. So you want to get this product, these fans, this excitement of a game in front of people who wouldn't typically see it. Guess what? You're going to grow fun fan bases because this sport and these players are unbelievable. As opposed to the Buffalo Sabres, this is the sport, and these are the players and the teams that you want younger generations to watch and want to grow up and play that sport, and that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And I absolutely love that the Buffalo Bandits have another option for people to watch them as they try to defend their title coming into this year.
Yeah, I think it's huge, and it's not even just cable. That is one of the few completely free off the antenna channels. Yep. So even if you don't have cable, you just have Netflix or something, you don't want ESPN Plus, you can go out there, get yourself one of those really basic TV antennas, and you can pick up 14 of the 18 Buffalo Bandits games. I think it's huge. Like you mentioned, I think it's huge that they're able to just reach a broader fan base. Like you said, other teams have had this in their markets. It's something that we've been looking for. I know the switch to ESPN Plus, if you're willing to pay for it, has been very good for the league, and it's much better than any streaming service they had previously. But I think this is just another way to, like you said, just broaden the fan base, allow more fans to be able to watch the games without having to go out of their way and get some kind of streaming service. They can just get a little antenna if they don't already have one, and away you go with some 14 of the 18 games. I think it's great. I think it's huge, and super excited to see it. It was a pretty well-kept announcement. I mean, I don't think that we heard anything at all about this even being a possibility this year, and then for them just to come out and plaster it all over, love it, and can't wait for it.
See, we're very fair here. We have called out the Buffalo Bandits multiple times on things that we think they need to be correcting, but when you do something great, we're also going to talk it up. So keep more of the positives than the negatives, and keep smiles on our faces. But Phil, let's dive into it. The first game on the Buffalo Bandits schedule is the first game that was on their schedule last year, and it didn't go as planned. Last year, week 1, they lost 11-10. I remember being in that arena and just going, well, this is going to be a fun podcast to record on Sunday night because what the heck happened? But week 18, they redeemed themselves and they won 16-10. But first game of the year for the Buffalo Bandits, they're heading to Albany. Phil, did you know that 19 first-round draft picks from 2019 until 2023 are in the active roster for the Albany Firewolves? Talk about a very, very young team. We talked about them briefly on Monday, but when we dive into it, I don't think you're going to really truly understand just how young and how much potential is on this team. They're just not ready to blossom just yet.
Yeah, like we said, we saw in the little bit we did get to watch of that game. I think you said you watched the full game. I did end up catching some of it. That Albany looks very fast. They look very young, so they look a little bit, like you said, unorganized, a little bit out of sorts. I don't think they're ready yet to take that huge next step, but they do look fast. They do look young. You can tell they have that little bit of youth chip on their shoulder, spunky type attitude where they're coming in with confidence as young players. I don't think they're scared. I think they're going out there. They're flashy, I think is what I was kind of trying to get at. But they're going to be a fun team this year. I don't necessarily know how the wins and losses are going to flow for them, but I think they are a fun team to watch. And I think they're, like you said, a lot of first-round draft picks and a lot of young talent on that team. I don't think they're really ready to take that next step, but it's going to be a good team, and they're going to find ways to, create some magic every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it in my power rankings, which you can go read that were just on the website yesterday, Thursday. So go read those so you can kind of see the description. But yeah, they came from behind on Las Vegas, who Las Vegas kind of did it to themselves by taking 9 penalties, but they fought back and they won 12-10. And it was a victory, and they're already 1/3 of the way to their win totals last year. But again, I said this also, they beat the Buffalo Bandits last year and then went on to win 2 more games. So I don't think this team is going to be a team that threatens very much. I think they're just going to be learning to grow and learning to play spoiler a bit. And here's the forward group. We'll go over it like we did the past 2 years. Marshall Paulus, he's a lefty. Ethan Walker, lefty. Sam Firth, lefty. And the guy that didn't play last week but came over in free agency after he was cut from Panther City, Nathan Giernan. He is 24 years old. So we'll go over to the righties now. Ty Kurtz, Alex Simmons, both rookies. Travis Longboat, he was out all last year. And then Tanner Thompson, who had a pretty decent year last year. I think he's one of the more veteran-savvy forwards besides Ethan Walker up here. But any of those names really stand out between the lefties and lefties and righties that you really want to keep an eye on going into the Saturday matchup?
Yeah, I mean, before we dive super far into that, I did have a quick question I wanted to ask you for a few weeks now. How long into a season, and this was also about the Sabres, but I don't want to talk about them anymore. So how long into the NLL season, we'll focus on them, do you think it takes to really get a good idea of what a team could potentially be that year? Like, how many games do you think you get an actual picture/idea of what that team really is?
I think you got to give them at least 4 or 5, maybe
really
4,
start.
because 4 and 5, that's about like a quarter away through the season. So I would say 4 or 5, we really get a true tell of what that team is going to look like. Not fully, but a good grasp and a good sample size of it.
I mean, I'm looking at stats and everything from last game, and again, that's kind of why I wanted to throw it out there, because there's only so much you can take from these early games.
Right. Yeah.
There's absolutely some takeaways from early games for sure. There's not nothing here, but there's only so much you can take away from some of these early games. Like you just said, around the 4 or 5 game mark, you really have a better feel for what these teams are going to look like going into each matchup. But early on, you're guessing a little bit. But as far as your question, Kurtz and Simmons led the way last week. Kurtz with 2, 3, and 5. Simmons 2, 2, and 4, but also led the team with 13 shots, which is quite a bit. It's pretty high for a single game. I believe they are both rookies. Yes, they are.
Both rookies. Kurtz and Simmons, yep.
Again, it just shows the youth on their team. Like, you wouldn't expect 2 rookies on your team to be leading your team offensively in their first games, and yet here we are. So those 2 players, I think they are ones to watch, especially building off of their first game ever. They just ended with 5 points and 4 points. They're going to take that, and they're going to run with it, and they're going to continue to build on that immediately. So I think those 2 right off the bat are a little bit scary in going into matchup 2. And then the forwards on the left side, Walker, Firth. Firth, I think, is a big one. 2, 3, and 5 in his first game. I think he's been pretty good throughout his career so far. So I think he's one to, again, this whole team's young, but I think he's another one to keep an eye on as far as the left side goes.
Yeah, I mean, this is where a lot of your first-round talent is. Paulus was a 2020 7th overall pick. Ethan Walker was a 2020 10th overall pick. Nathan Giernan was a 2021 11th overall pick. Ty Kurtz last year 17th overall pick. Simmons last year was a 4th overall pick. And then Tanner Thompson was a 2019 16th overall pick. So you have a lot of your draft capital tied up in the forward group, and you're getting some production again early on in the year. But Paulus had 5 points, Walker had 5 points, Firth, who came over from Vegas last year, had 5 points against his former team last week. Kurtz had 5 points, Simmons had 4, Longboat had 4, who was out all last year. So you're getting the production up there, and you scored against a goalie who was coming into his second full season of work in Landon Kells. You just don't want to get bit like you did last year, where we're going to talk about him in a minute, but Jameson kind of stole that game from him. This seems like a game where if you keep them around, 9 or 10 goals, which seems very realistic to do, none of these guys truly scare me this year.
Yep.
And again, I'm sitting here in the chair talking about what scares me, why I'm going to be on my couch watching these games. But really, a name to keep an eye on is Tanner Thompson, who did not play last week. But last year, 20 goals, 31 assists, 51 points in 14 games. He can put the ball in the back of the net. Pair him with Ethan Walker on the other side, who had a 56-point season last year. Both of those guys are the more veteran leadership out there on the floor, if you want to call the 26-year-olds leaders. But really, those are the 2 ones that I would keep an eye on. And then, Alex Simmons and Kurtz can really fire the ball as rookies, and they really don't have anything to lose because they're finally learning in the game. But none of these forwards really stand out that are terrifying. If Dyson Williams came out of college, I would probably be saying a different tune. But we'll move on to the transition in the defense. Any of these guys really stand out to you? Patrick Cossack, he's a 2021 16th overall pick. He plays defense. Jackson Reed was defense. Joe Nardella, finally back after 1 game just last year, went 14 for 24 against the Buffalo Bandits, 17 loose balls. He's back and healthy. Jackson Nishimura, and then Colton Watkinson. He's the captain over in Albany now. Any of those guys really stand out either in the transition game or on the back end?
Yeah, Cossack seems to be their kind of go-to player as far as the defense. What was that?
He's very good.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, 93 loose balls last year, 14 caused turnovers, which we will be keeping, I don't want to say an even closer eye on, but a really close eye on again this season. It's one of our favorite stats. They have a few guys that have pretty solid caused turnovers. I know some of the numbers got a little bit higher last year as far as the leaders. I think 14, 15 the year before was about pretty elite. It wasn't incredible, but it definitely wasn't bad. So, I mean, anyone sitting around that mark, you're going to be looking at, and they have a few guys that can do that. But Kashok is definitely one of the better players on their back end. 9 block shots last year as well, which is another newer stat that they're going to kind of keep an eye on, and we will as well. But I think he's the one, to me, who stands out the most. And then Nardella was a really good faceoff guy. I think he struggled a little bit last week. I mean, he lost 14 of 10, or going...
That's Zach Cole. I think that's his name in Vegas. He's really good as a younger player as well. So going 15 for 24 against Cole, it's not terrible. But again, this is his first game.
Right.
Last week was his first game back since game 1 of last year. But he's still one of the top guys in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, he sticks out to me as far as a really interesting first week to see what the Bandit strategy is going to be on faceoffs. He is one of the better ones in the league, and we really don't have a good idea of what the Bandits are going to do, if they're going to try to win them, if they're going to try to, tie it up and just try to get a scrap going every single face-off, or if they're just going to false start and let the defense start like they did a few years ago. So I think with him posing, like you just mentioned, a pretty good face-off threat as far as the Bandits not having a true face-off guy, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what their strategy is going up against a pretty formidable face-off guy. So I think he's absolutely one to watch, and one you kind of have to watch every single face-off, so he'll be pretty obvious.
You kind of stole my talking points
sorry
there, Phil.
about
That's
that.
exactly what I was going to talk about. Trying to figure out, is it going to be Frazier, McKay, Weiss in the face-off dot? But I'll switch gears and go to my other one. I think Watkinson is going to be a name that you're going to be watching, because he was very quiet in the game on I believe they played Friday night at 10 o'clock. He only had 4 loose balls and 2 block shots, but he is one of those guys that can get in the transition game and put the ball in the back. In the 18 games last year, he was 8-8-16 with 88 loose balls and 14 caused turnovers. I think that could be, and the Buffalo Bandits fixed that very well last year. I know the year before that, where they lost to Colorado in the finals that year, the 21-22 season, they were kind of getting exposed in the transition game where, time after time, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were giving up 1 or 2 or 3 transition goals. They seem like they fixed that last year. So as long as that's completely dialed in, again, you're working new faces into this lineup. You got Cam Wires and you got both Robinsons on the back end fully healthy, playing together for maybe the first time in their career. It's going to be a whole new system, and I think that's one of the nice ways that you're in, I guess, a nice start to the season is facing a team like Albany. But we thought that last year, where it was a nice warm-up game and you saw what happened. So I think Albany here is a nice, I'm going to say it again, Phil, a nice warm-up game to kind of get all those kinks worked out. You just can't let them get those type of goals in the transition game. And I think Watkinson is one that you're going to have to watch out for. You're going to have to make sure that guys are getting back. That I know, I believe I read John Gertler's article where he was saying that they've been hitting hard at the forwards getting back and being able to play defense, like the Dane Smith who started his career on defense, like Josh Byrne, like they were having Nanakoke run back and Frazier running back, and all them guys knowing where to play on the defensive end in case this type of thing happens. And I think that's big, because transition game is very big from last year's West Coast teams that are now this Coast team. So you're going to have that in your arsenal to do it. And as long as they control that game, I can't see Buffalo really struggling to come away with this game in a W, and we'll get to our picks in a bit. But Watkinson is one that I would definitely keep an eye on coming out the back door, and Jameson finding him in the transition game.
Yeah, I think going into this game, I'd be a little bit more worried, but I think not that they were going to lose, but just, again, exactly what you're saying. I mean, last year we had this same philosophy going into game 1 against Albany, and they end up losing, but I think they learned a lot from last year. I mean, obviously they won the championship, but even outside of that, going into their first game last year, they lost the first game against Albany. I think they learned from that, and they will not let that repeat this year. And then even last year, you saw it in playoffs especially, but toward the end of the season, you saw a lot of the forwards, like you just mentioned, getting back on defense. I mean, Byrne, how many times did he chase down a transition opportunity and get the guy from behind, because he's just incredibly fast? But even just the hustle he had, that the second it's turned over, he is full on sprint, and he caught a lot of players from behind trying to get a transition break. So I think they've already shifted that mentality a little bit with the forwards, but you can see some players like Byrne are already excelling at that, and I think they will continue to push this. But last year, like you mentioned, they really did a great job of shutting down the transition game, and they need to continue that this year, and we will see what happens in game 1.
Yeah, 7 caused turnovers from Josh Byrne last year.
Yeah, and they were probably all on breakaways.
All from chasing the guys from behind. But Phil, we'll go over to our goaltender here, Dougie Jameson. I know everybody loves giving him a hard time in net, but I thought he played very well last week. 31 saves, 10 goals allowed. I thought he was a guy that made a bit more saves than Landon Kells and walked out the door with a victory. Last year, he went 3-12, 12.78 goals against and a 77 save percentage. So not his best year, but when you think about the team in front of him, those numbers aren't terrible. They could have been much worse. But I think with the improving team in front of him, you might see improved numbers from Doug Jamieson this year. I mean, he was the goalie of the year. I believe it was the COVID shortened season. So if you want to put an asterisk next to it, whatever, his name's still on the trophy and winning that one. But he's definitely no slouch in the net. He's just one of those goalies, and I said it on the Monday show, you need to get to him early so he busts his confidence. He plays a lot different styles when you're putting 3, 4, 5 goals in the first quarter. He's second guessing himself. The other thing, he's a bigger goalie that doesn't like to move. Move that ball around a lot quicker, especially on the power play. You're going to get him tired. You're going to get him moving. You're going to find those empty slots. And I think if you get him early, get him moving off his spot, you can score quite a few goals on Doug Jamieson with the defense that you're going to be facing on Saturday night.
Yeah, moving forward, I'll probably do a little bit more. I know I do it for Vince in the post game, but I'll try to do a little bit better job of a goalie breakdown headed into their next matchup. But in this one, from what I could tell, he had at least 7 of the goals he gave up were from in tight. So I don't think that's necessarily on him. That's a big tell for their defense, but also that's huge for the Bandits offense that loves to get inside when you got Nanakoke and Byrne always diving across the crease. You got Cloutier willing to get dirty. You got Buchanan willing to get in there. Fraser willing to get in there. So I think the opportunities to move the ball quickly, like you mentioned, there were a few goals that Vegas was able to put up on some very fast movements where Jamieson was not able to react fast enough. And then outside of that, they were able to just free a lot of their forwards to get right in tight on Jamieson and make some moves and score. And I think that's one of the things that the Bandits offense loves to do. So I think that's a good way to exploit him. I think that's a good way to exploit any NLL goalie. It's very hard to stop a player in tight one-on-one. So if they can find a way to do that, and again, it's more about Albany's defense than it is about the goalie necessarily, but I think that's a good way to exploit Jamieson and their defense is to get in tight, and I think the Bandits have the offense to do that again and again and again.
So, Phil, we went over the players. We went over their transition, defense, goaltender, forwards, all the players to watch for Albany. Let's break it down. Same thing that we've done the past 3 years. What is your score prediction for the first game back for the Buffalo Bandits to defend their championship in Albany? Do they have a bit of a hangover from their championship, or are they coming out, learn their lesson from last year, and going to walk out the door with the W?
Yeah, I think they come out firing, and I don't know if it's because I simply want to see them go out there and absolutely crush Albany and just have an incredible first week and a lot of fun and really kick the season off, or if it's truly how I feel about this team being healthy and how I feel about their competition in Albany. But I think they're going to come out flying high. I think the defense, and I don't want to say Vince is going to be bad, but I think Vince might be, just getting into the season. So I'm not going to give him a complete pass, but I think Albany will not score very many. I'm going to just light this score up. I'm going to throw a little 15-9, really kick off my attempt to get them to at least average 14.5 per game their whole entire season. So hopefully they can put up more than 15, but I'm going to go 15-9. Big opening win and a big statement to start their year.
Well, Phil, we've only ever done it once, and that was back round 2 versus Toronto last year. We had the exact same score prediction. One time in the 2 years going into the third year we've ever done this, and we didn't do it again. But I used a little bit more. I have them winning. I don't have them losing. I am one of the few ones on this podcast that actually picks them to lose. Phil's done it once.
I'm sorry they only lost 4 games each season. It's hard to pick against that. They got 14 W's I got to pick.
You've picked them to lose one time in all the times we've ever done this. But
I've only been wrong I got them 3 times. That's a pretty good it's pretty good percentage.
That's very
overall.
True. It's very 7 times you've picked the game wrong. Actually, not including playoffs. But regular season you only picked them wrong 7 times. But
yeah, that's right.
I do have them winning this one, but I'm using a little bit of reverse engineering in my mind.
Oh boy.
We've been doing this for 2 full seasons now, going into our 3rd season. There's only been one time where we have gotten the correct score predicted perfectly. It was me.
Man.
Thank you, Max Adler. Remember that penalty shot versus
I
Rochester?
had it right, and then
you
stole it with
you
like
did.
2
And then
seconds
Max Adler
left.
got the penalty shot, and he scored in his first game. Or I think it was his second game. I think Albany was his first game.
That right.
Yeah, he looked over to me, and you were very angry. But you want to know what the score of that game was? It was 14-8. I have them beating Albany 14-8, and I'm hoping that 14-8, because that was the last time I said that they were going to win 14-8. That was the last time I have anybody a 14-8 score prediction. That was the last time either of us ever had that score. So, or just me. I'm sorry. You had another 4-8. I'm looking at right now because I have all the past stats. But yeah, 14-8. That is my prediction. I think Matt Vince is going to come out, locked in, prove that he's still one of the top goalies. I think him losing the goaltender, as much as he won't say it, I think him losing that goaltender of the year award to Christian Del Bianco is kind of itching at him, and he wants it back because they're going to name that trophy after him when he retires. So I got him 14-8. You got him 15-9, Phil. Let's hope one of us is right here.
I know that. I don't know. You have the stats in front of you. I feel like I often just go 9. I feel like it's just such a lacrosse number. You don't have to, but maybe for next time we'll break it down.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There was a time where you did 5 in a row. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 times.
Oh my gosh. And let's see, last week, not a single score hit a 9. So I got to not do 9s anymore. All right. Good to know. Good to know. No more 9s. We'll sneak some more 10s in there. I do have a quick question for you.
Yes.
Your bold prediction was, I believe, 3 times they're going to get to 20 goals. Are you going to be throwing 3 20-goal predictions out there throughout the season?
I guess I'm going to have to, aren't I?
I cannot
this
wait.
This would have been one of the games to do it.
For you to just launch 3 20-goal predictions. It's going to be great.
Imagine if those were one of the ones I hit. Oh, baby. But everybody's favorite time, because I slip up so many times, I'm going to do lightning round. This is like one of those auctions. I'm just going to run through it because I found out last year, the quicker I do it, the less mess-ups I do. So our milestone segment is back. Man, Phil, I know you missed sitting through 2 minutes of me just rambling on about possible milestones could happen in this game. Here we go. Big deep breath. These are the possible milestones for the Buffalo Bandits that could happen on Saturday night. Steve Perillo is 1 point away from 200 for his career. Josh Byrne is 3 loose balls away from 300 for his career. Matt Vince will tie Sean Evans if he plays on Saturday for 5th in career games played in NLL history with 270. Steve Perillo will move into sole possession of 3rd place in games played for the Buffalo Bandits with 201. Nick Weiss will tie Pat McCready for 10th place in games played for the Buffalo Bandits history if he does play on Saturday. Josh Byrne is 4 goals away from tying Ryan Benesh for 5th place in Buffalo Bandits history with 152. Chase Frazier is 2 goals away from tying Troy Cordingley for 10th place in Buffalo Bandits history with 96. Nick Weiss is 5 loose balls away from tying Kevin Brownell for 8th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Matt Spanger is 2 caused turnovers away from tying Alex Hill for 6th place in Buffalo Bandits history with 59. Matt Vince is 1 win away from 50 for his Bandits tenure, and John Tavares, the head coach of the Buffalo Bandits, is 1 win away from 50 for his career as Buffalo Bandits head coach. Phil, how'd I do?
Pretty good. I don't know. Did you miss? Did you miss any?
I stumbled at one point, but I caught myself right back up, and this is a new PK this year. Boys, girls, I am locked and loaded to rip through these milestones all year long. And if you missed any of these because I fly through them, don't worry. We tweet them out on Friday.
And I was just looking up the games played. I cannot believe Matt Vince is, not that he's low on the list by any means. He's going to tie 5th all time. That's pretty.
He could
pretty
be 3rd by the end of the season.
Yeah,
right?
Which is insane. But to think that Tavares and Dawson are just that much higher is insane, to think how long their careers were. But even still, Matt Vince going to be pushing for 3rd all time in games played for a goalie. Number 1 for a goalie, 3rd all time overall. That is absolutely insane. And Sean Evans is looking like he's no longer going to be active on this list. And he was close with some of these, but he's going to retire a little bit short.
Yeah, we didn't hit on that, but happy retirement, Sean Evans. I know you were either hated or loved, and I loved you whether you were on the Buffalo Bandits or not, because you were the type of player I absolutely love. But Phil, because we're in the unified standings, we have to look at the whole grand scheme of things now. And if you've noticed on our social media sites, and we've said it on this one, each week you Producer Pat and myself are picking the NLL games all year long. You can play with us on, you can leave the comments. You can just track it at home. We're not going to track it for you because we got better things to do. Haha, just kidding. We just don't have that ability and we're not that smart enough yet. So there are other places that do it. I know Adam Levy has where Preston's picks, where you and I are both in that one. I have to make sure my picks are, yeah. I have to make sure
Levi, and you really got Levi stuck in your head from Devin. He's really throwing you off.
I do. But, we got to make sure our picks are locked in there because I think I got 5th place last week, tied for 5th place, something. I don't know. But yeah, this next segment, really quick, it's not going to be a long segment whatsoever. It's just going to be called Lacrosse Lookout. Each Monday on the show, we're going to give some quick bullet points on the games around the league and what happened in them. So the Friday show, we're going to tell you what games are on to watch. Philly is in Toronto Saturday at 7 p.m., 30 minutes before the Buffalo Bandits kickoff. Same time as Buffalo Bandits kickoff is Calgary at Georgia. Half an hour after that, 8 o'clock game Saturday, Rochester's in Saskatchewan. 10 o'clock game, late game Saturday, Calgary is in San Diego. And then a very rare, which we won't be able to watch live, Las Vegas is in Panther City Sunday at 4 o'clock. Phil, those are the games to watch. If you don't know who we picked, go to our social media sites. Every Wednesday we post those. But it's full slate of games this coming up week, and we got a lot of lacrosse to watch on Sunday morning and Saturday after the Bandits play.
Yeah, Calgary and San Diego is going to be.
It's going to be a fun one.
It's going to be a big one, especially with Calgary losing the way they did against Rochester in that first week. They already need a big bounce back game. They're away, so that's a little bit tougher for them. But I think that's going to be just a really big game. San Diego trying to get out there and Calgary trying to rebound. But it's still so weird, and it's going to take me a long time, I think. I mean, definitely most of this year to see those teams not as West and just as unified. Like, I know these all matter, and I know that we have to kind of follow them very closely, but I still look at Calgary and San Diego and immediately think West teams battling it out. Man, it's going to be tough to get that out of my head.
I mean, if it helps, they're still West.
Oh, I know. I mean, it doesn't help my mentality.
They didn't change geography.
They're in the West, so it's a West game, but it's not.
Technically you're not wrong.
Right. I guess I'll take that. It makes me feel a little better.
There you go. But the last thing here is we just want to go over our weekly schedule. Producer Pat is making this graphic, and we'll put it and pin it to our social media sites so everybody knows what's going on. But we're going to go more in depth this year on our NLL coverage and our Buffalo Bandits coverage. Every Monday, nothing's changing there. You're still going to get a new episode every single Monday. Every single Tuesday, you're going to get Phil's post-game article. He did it all last year. He's going to do it again this year. Catch that every Tuesday. So if there's something that we don't hit on the Monday show, they're like, hey, you didn't talk about this, it's probably going to be in Phil's article. So relax and just wait a day, and then you can read in Phil's article. Every Wednesday, BSC picks. Those are going to be out. We're going to track it all year long. Actually, producer Pat is in the lead right now at 3-2. Phil and I are both sitting at 2-3. And then nice surprise every month. On a random Wednesday, producer Pat is going to produce his article from a fan perspective of what's going around in the NLL. I was talking to him yesterday. He has no idea what he's going to be doing, but he's excited to write an article once a month. We were trying to get him every week, but I think we settled on just once a month for producer Pat. I can't wait to read those ones on a random Wednesday each month for the NLL season. Every Thursday, you can catch this one. PK's NLL Power Rankings. It took me way too long to write mine on Thursday, but that's out. Phil's article was out on Wednesday, right? You put out your 2023-2024 Buffalo Bandits breakdown. Preview. Yep, roster preview, thank you. His article was there, but from now on it's going to be on Tuesdays. My thing's going to be out on Wednesday's article. And then Friday, nothing's changing there. You're going to still get a Friday preview episode every Friday. So Monday episode, Tuesday Phil's article, Wednesday picks and a monthly producer Pat article, Thursday my power rankings, and Friday new episode. Phil, we're going to use our weekend to watch NLL and relax and take notes and record on Sunday night.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's like you said, the most in depth we've ever gone. I mean, last year we ramped it up a little bit more from the year before. So the last 3 years now, this is into our third year now, we've kind of continued to ramp it up, and I think the unified standings ramp it up even more because now we have to follow the entire league a little bit more closely. Not that we didn't follow the West teams last year, but you didn't have to follow them quite as close until it got a little bit closer to playoffs. But now it's just you have to follow every single team very closely because every single team matters to the Bandits throughout the entire year. So not only has our coverage ramped up, but the NLL made our entire workload ramp up quite a bit this year. But we're excited, and week 1 was fun, but now we get a week with the Bandits, and I cannot wait to see how that game goes.
Yeah, thanks, Brett Frood. Made our job more difficult.
Yeah,
but honestly, we've been keeping track of our numbers for going on 3 years now, and our numbers keep growing and keep growing. So as long as those numbers keep growing and keep growing, our content is going to keep growing and growing. Because obviously, for some reason, don't know why, we still haven't figured it out. People listen to us and people want to know what we think, and maybe they just maybe we put them to sleep, Phil. I don't know. I haven't really asked why they like us because I don't really want to know. But yeah, all our numbers keep growing. They've more than doubled every year we've done this. So we're just going to keep pumping out content. The more and more people, pay attention and want to have it. So if you want more and more content, keep listening and keep telling people to go do it. Because if you're looking for a way to help us grow, is just share us with everyone. That's the best way that you can help us out, because me and Phil have full-time jobs, and this don't pay the bank as much as we want it to. We don't make any money from this. So if you want to help us make money, here's a great way to do it. Just keep listening to the Buffalo Sports Collective. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. And tell your friends to visit all those websites and follow us. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com for all of our articles. Phil's articles there, mine's articles there. Go read them now. They're great. They're fascinating. We actually are good at English. Subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Until Monday, bye-bye.